Hi, my name is Sridhar Rangan. I'm the Festival Director of KASHISH Mumbai International Queer Film Festival, which is having its 12th edition right now. So you must have watched this brilliant film, Walk With Me, which is a centerpiece film. And we are really privileged to have the director, ISABEL Del Rosal, and DEVIN and BRIDGET, who are the lead actors of the film. DEVIN plays Amber Evans, and BRIDGET plays Logan Pierce. You all must have seen the film already. You must have loved the characters. And to host this Q&A, we have PRIYA KRISHNASWAMY, who is a two-time National Award-winning director, producer, writer, and editor based out of Mumbai. She has a postgraduate diploma in cinema from Film and TV Institute of India, where she specialized in film editing. She has edited across industries, film, TV, advertising, narrative, and documentary for more than 3 decades. She has made about 20 documentaries and 2 feature films so far. And Priya also has been on the preview committee of Kashish in the previous years. So welcome, Priya, to host the Q&A. Thank you for making this happen. Welcome, Isabel, Devin, and Bridget. Over to you, Priya.
So hi, guys. Loved watching the film. It was really an honor. And we have a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to kind of go straight into I love the performances, I must tell you before we start everything else, yeah? And I thought it was an astonishing screenplay. So Isabel, I'm going to start with you. We always ask this question about what inspired you to make this story. This is true of any film, but your film was so, I thought it was so unique and so specific it had in its voice that I thought that we should definitely kind of start with that.
Yeah, what inspired this film? Well, I had been writing comedy, a web series for a while.
Yeah. I
was going through a dark place in my life, and the comedy was really wonderful to do. And then this film, I wanted to write about love, something that spoke to love, and the film kind of wrote itself. The screenplay kind of wrote itself. It was a pretty magical experience. The specificity of it is emotional, really. You know, it's the inner workings that I think is what you're speaking to, that you see in Amber, and so that the inner world of Amber is reflective of my inner world of going through a similar coming out later in life experience, and just really, I was in it in that moment. And so the writing was reflective of my own inner workings. I don't think I would be able to write that now.
Yeah. So how long did you take to write the script?
It was actually a pretty fast writing process. You know, I typically write over, in pockets of time when I have time. I don't have the time to just sit and do a dedicated writing. So I was writing the skeleton of it for a while, and I really mostly did backstory. I did a lot of backstory for all of the characters, and I figured out my main plot points. But sitting down, the first draft I wrote in 10 days. Like both my kids had the flu. It was kind of this fortuitous moment where my small children had the flu and they were sleeping all day, and they didn't require much food or care aside from like my lap to sit on. And I sat and I wrote for 10 days and had the first draft completed in that time.
You know, it's very funny with the writing that I think that, it feels like a one breath film. It feels like there's a lot of stuff happening within the film, but it's quite seamless. And so it's funny how when you take 20 years to write a script and when you take a week to write a script, it kind of shows in the film that comes out. Here's a question that I think, would typically be for the director, but I would like for the actors to kind of chip in as well. So here's what the first thing that occurred to me when I saw Walk With Me is that it engages with stuff that's not normally, a queer film is kind of, it delineates its kind of, its subject matter. And here's a film that kind of goes outside of that and talks about stuff that is not typically just a queer film subject. So all 3 of you, how did that happen? What was the point of what was the thought in that? And how did you as actors kind of react?
Again, I think it was like just a reflective of where I was at in my life and where my concerns were, and And, you know, family is very important to me. And it wasn't a super conscious choice. It just was a story that came to me, and all these elements just, I don't know, I downloaded it from somewhere.
Did it strike you when you watched the film later that that's what had happened? Or were you aware of it, you know, as you went in?
I think as in the making of the film, like bringing on Devin and Bridget and the whole cast and the crew, you know, once we got going, there was something like, there was magic in the air, and we all felt it. And so the truth of it started to really become apparent in the making of it. Yeah. So
that would really speak to Devin's character, wouldn't it? In the film. I'll come to you, Bridget. You had this one astonishing moment in the film that I'm going to talk about. But for Devin's character to have this kind of, you know, like Isabel starts by saying it's a love story. It's about, it's not necessarily about what kind of a love story. It's just a love story. But here's a character that has this very rich background, who's now trying to find her way through something else that she's not prepared for. What were your thoughts when you read the script?
I read the script in the very, very early phases that Isabel sent it to me, because we actually had worked together before on that sketch comedy show. Yeah. So she sent me the script just as a friend to sort of read it. I don't know, maybe almost a year or so before, maybe 2 years. I don't even know, before we made it, 2 years. Yeah. And so we talked a lot about the story and my thoughts, and Amber in general, and Logan. And so I really feel like I've had, it's been a real honor and blessing to be a part of the script for that long and to really sit with it. And so I think I really understood from the beginning, especially when we went into shoot, that this was a human story. It was a story about, a love story, and it happened to be a queer love story, but that was not the point. And I think the whole cast and crew also understood that. And I think for me, because it was set out that way, I really connected to Amber in huge, deep, meaningful ways. And I think Bridget and I had a lot of conversations throughout the year of filming about our own lives and our own insecurities and our own struggles with love and our own walls. And it became really personal for us in a lot of ways as a crew to tell this story. And I think because it's just such a human story, it really kind of serves the queerness in such a beautiful way, because everybody can relate to it. So if you aren't queer and you watch this story, you can still see yourself in Amber or in Logan or in Soul or in somebody in the film and really connect to it. And so I think we all felt honored to be a part of a story that was not commenting on the queerness, but just existing. Yeah.
So let's go into that. So I'm going to come to this moment, and then we'll come back to Isabel, how you cast this film. That would be my next thing. But before we go there, the Logan character, meeting her mother on the subway platform. That's such an astonishing moment in the film. And that interaction is written so brilliantly. So as an actor, what? Because you really played it really beautifully. You know, you kind of do, as a viewer, you do a double take. You say, is that what really happened? And it plays on your mind, you know? Did I read it correctly? Is that, so take me through that moment of shooting that, of reading that.
Well, I guess, you know, speaking to it as the way I work as an actor, everything is very much drawn from my personal life, as true and honest as possible. So to me, the essence of the struggle between Logan and her mother was a betrayal in a big way. You know, to have a parent, you know, not recognize you, not actually really, like, literally not see you, is a huge betrayal. So I had I dug into my own, deepest cavern of betrayal for myself, for my personal experience, and transmuted that into a moment, even though it was, that's the whole thing about like the mind, right? And memory and the way and how actors work, or how humans work. It's the sensory experience of how something can bring back, a memory just by a smell or something that you see or hear. We as human beings, we're just like these sponges of experience. So to me, it was it was definitely a difficult day, but yeah, so it was just an experience of me drawing from a time of betrayal for myself.
I found it a very interesting moment because I think as artists, very often we're rejected by, very close family for not being whatever, sufficiently having arrived, made money, success, all of that. And that rejection is very deep and it's very hurtful. And that was the moment, that was what I recognized in that moment. It was the rejection of the otherness, in you. The fact that you're not mainstream and that you don't walk the line. And you played it really insanely beautifully. So that's why, yeah, it's kind of just stayed in the memory. You did shoot in New York, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that must have been tough, yeah?
No, it was incredibly seamless. Okay. We just, we had no money, and there was just a lot of, there were angels helping us along. And
I have to just say that Isabel is an angel. So people will always want to help her out because she's an incredible human being. And she just has people just like, oh, yes, to her. So I just got to say that.
That was a hell of a thing. Okay, so so tell me, so what was the most difficult moment for you guys to shoot in the film? And this question is open to all three of you.
What was the most difficult? I guess the breakup. I mean, on a not on a technical level, right? There was never like a difficult technical moment ever. So, but I would say the breakup was the hardest.
Why?
I think, well, on a personal level, it happened to be like one of my hardest days because I had to, I had the longest day ever, wearing the many hats that I wear. I worked with kids earlier in the day, and then I had to shoot, and then I had to perform at a gay club late at night in a drag show. So it was like a very long day for me that I knew was ahead of me. And it was such an emotional day. So in fact, even though that was hard, it actually led me to be very, raw in that way. So it was I think the hardest part of it though, was that, even as an actor, human being, there's a part of your like psyche that wants to protect you from like the darkest place, right? The hardest moments. It's like we still have this part of us, even though, we're meant to always expose it. And I remembered like Isabel telling me, she's like, I need you to go to that place that she knew that we've talked about, and I have worked so hard to not go there in life that like, as an actor, you have to be able to go there like that. And I just remembered having a resistance that I was like, damn, man, I got to go back there. But I'm like, this is my job. This is what I do. So here we go. Yeah. So that I remember feeling that resistance, but also like having Isabel be there, and also like the relationship with Devin, seeing her just, fall apart was also hard. Because, you end up just falling in love with each other anyway.
So tell me, what is it about, aren't we, this ability to kind of switch on and switch off a role? Isn't that what the stock and trade is? Isn't that what we're supposed to be able to do? Not take the homework home.
Go ahead, Devin.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's the goal, but it's you know, it's almost impossible to do as an artist, particularly I think as an actor, when you're really stepping into these people and bringing your own life to them. I think for me, also definitely the breakup was one of the first things that came to mind. I'm a theater actor, so this is like my first film, and I was not used to having to get all the way there, and then hair and makeup comes and fixes, and then you go back to like not having broken up a few seconds before, and that was exhausting. I mean, I couldn't believe how exhausting it was. I always knew it would be, but and it was really sort of heartbreaking and painful. But one of the moments I think about actually is a really small section of the film. It's in a montage, and it's the moment where Ethan, my ex-husband, is saying goodbye to Emily, our daughter, and we're sitting on the front steps, and that we shot that after a long day, a long hard day also, and we didn't really even, I think, know what we were gonna do. It was just sort of, because there was no dialogue, so it was just like, let's run the camera and just watch this happen. And for whatever reason, our little Emily didn't understand the scene completely, so she had asked about it, and we were trying to explain it to her, but it felt very real, like two loving adults explaining to this young girl what the scene is about. So we were really in it when that happened, and he reaches out and he puts his hand on my knee, and I just sort of leaned over to hug him, and I got so swept away with that moment. I think it's the only moment of the film where you call the cut, and I couldn't breathe, and the Daniel who played Ethan couldn't either. We each had to go for a walk for a few minutes, because it just really, my heart broke for everybody in that scene, every single one of us, and all the people that have gone through that. And I couldn't believe the power of a moment like that is no dialogue, and it's just as part of a montage. And whenever I see it in the film, I'm right back to that moment, and that was really brutal and beautiful. Yeah,
I did really love the way Ethan was treated in the movie. I loved it. I loved the fact that he's not the villain, and that it's just a marriage that had just reached the end of its rope. And I know that moment that you're talking about, Devin, it was beautiful. It really was. I think that's why the film stands out. It has these really personal and very relatable, and right there, a movie is successful. When you say relatable, you're done. It's like finished, done and dusted. So yeah, it was really nice. It's very understated and very minimalistic in that sense. It's not cluttered. Okay, so I love the camera work. And I'm very difficult to please in the camera department. So I really liked it. I am. I'm a real, but yeah, I liked it. I loved the color schemes. And so I was wondering how you did that. I love the light, and it's very accomplished camera work.
Yeah, our DP Yoda Makarov, that was his first feature also.
You're kidding me, really?
Yeah, and he's brilliant. I looked at his reel amongst other people's reels, and there were two different people I was conversing with, and he and I met in person, and he is such a lovely human that 15 minutes into our meeting, I was like, I want to work with you. And he said, I do too. and so that was formed.
So how did you go about designing the look?
Yeah, we worked very intensively. We spent many hours upon many days storyboarding. I did the boards, and then Yoda and I would sit and look at them and go over each and every single shot. And he's very meticulous, so he would question every choice I had made. Be like, why this? Why would you? Why? And we would talk about it, and he would either give the thumbs up or challenge it, and we would shift things. So and within the color scheme, I really wanted Amber's world to go from more bleak color-wise to much richer in color, and you see that through the film. I mean, it starts off, all of our scenes with Ethan have a greenish hue to them, which like a sickly kind of, and you know, a little desaturated. And then as she grows and pops into Logan's world and into her own strength, the colors really start to become vibrant. So that was just something that I wanted to.
Yeah, it was really, really neat. So, so tell me now, this is specifically for Devin and Bridget. How did you guys prep for the film?
Like I said, I really draw from my personal world. Because of this film being, you know, shot in succession over a year's time, there was a lot. There was,
oh, wow.
yeah, there was, and we, you know, so there was a real gift that it was like you were not always you weren't going backwards and forwards in time. You know, you were feeling the progression of like a real relationship as it moved forward and as we got closer. So that was kind of very unique, you know, for actors to have that experience, kind of like working on a TV show or something in that way, you know. One of the great parts of working on this role for me was I got to learn all this music. So I kind of used the music in a new way for myself to prepare for the role, and kind of getting that intimate connection to the song kind of was like my way into her world. And like I said, just really very truthful. I had just actually, it was very funny because I had, at the beginning of the film, or actually even from the audition, I was struggling in a relationship that ended up becoming the relationship that I was in. That was great. So while we were shooting this film, I was falling in love as well. So simultaneously falling in love, and also remembering how.
Nice. Oh, that's so nice. Because otherwise it's a very tricky thing to kind of tap into love, no? I can't remember the last time I was in love. I can't, you know.
You know, and so it was a very unique experience for me in that way, where I had really shitty things happen before. So I had a world that I could really draw from. And also I was experiencing all of the fear that does come with new love too. So even though I was falling in love, I was also simultaneously experiencing similar fears, you know, and we talked about it on set. So it was very raw and real while we were filming.
Devin?
Yeah, same. Like that was what was so interesting for Bridget and I. We both were at the beginning of these new relationships that were triggering us and bringing up fear and pain and love and beauty. And so she and I really connected on that front. And I'm also still now in this relationship. And I was really like, I met my Logan in this course of this film, this person who was really kind of loves me more than I love myself. And I was like, no. And so whenever Isabel would, you know, we weren't quite there on the scene or whatever, and she'd be like, I need you to go there. I had the same thing with Bridget. It was like, I don't want to have to go into my own personal life. And then we would, and it would really change things. And so actually, whenever I watch the film now, I'm like, oh, this is when that was happening. And this is when that was happening. And it really kind of reflects, it's like this strange little diary for me to watch, which is beautiful. But yeah, I think the way that I think we're all pretty collaborative, at least this entire film set was, and I think I can speak for the three of us to say that we're very collaborative people, and we do collaborative work. And so I think Bridget and I sort of entered the space open to each other's processes and how the other works. And I think we really found that the best way to get into this story was to get into each other. And I think that's what we would do. We, you know, while we were getting our hair done or having breakfast,
Did you know
we were talking about our lives.
Got onto this film, though? You'd never met?
Well, actually, we didn't realize until halfway through shooting that we had worked together. I hosted a cabaret, a political cabaret, like soiree thing, years previous, and she was one of our guest artists, and I had completely forgotten. But no, I mean, we didn't know each other. Yeah, exactly. But we didn't know each other. And I think that actually helped too. Because we, you know, there was this like love and connection and curiosity that the two of us had for each other as people that was real in the film. I mean, I didn't know the way her hand was going to move around my body. Like it was, because I didn't know her well. So it was honest in that way. And then Isabel was just the guiding captain there, always steering us to where we needed to be. And it was a really, magical process, I felt like, for everybody involved.
It's a good thing you didn't realize you knew each other, because it was a relationship that you were kind of, you were meeting up. And so it would have entailed much more acting if you had been old friends, no? Pretending to just meet up and, it kind of, yeah. I think the thing that really, really moved me about Walk With Me, like I keep saying, is the truthfulness of it. And I think it's all this little detailing of who knows whom. As a director, I know that if I can control that, I'm just making it easier for everybody. Okay, here, I have a question. Nobody needs to answer it. Nobody is obligated to. But I'm going to put it out there. So I don't know if either of the actors, the main leads, are queer. And if you are, and if you're not, how does it impact playing that role?
Oh, I'm happy to answer. I don't identify as queer. I have been in queer relationships. I have had, I wouldn't say very long relationships with women, but I have had experiences, and I did love a woman once. And I think it's funny because it like, I don't even, I'm gonna backtrack. What I find is like, it is about being human again. And that's always what it was for me. It was never like I identify in myself that I see a woman or a man and I'm like, ooh, them, it's really always been a person. And the times that I've loved a woman, it was like, it was a friend that grew gradually. And I was like, what's happening? This is crazy, and then when I went there, of course, my life, I felt like, this was a moment, this was an experience, but I don't identify fully. So I think that there's a range of, experiences that people have. And when it's love, it's love. And I think as a woman, or any kind of intimate scene, as an actor, if you have to find something about that person, if you're not necessarily attracted to that person in that way, you have to make it truthful for yourself. Or like you said, it's not gonna come across as authentic. And this came across authentically.
I feel similarly to Bridget. I do not identify as queer, but I have also fallen in love with women and been resistant to it for different reasons. And I think I was able to use that for Amber. I mean, I felt like I was able to be present with her fears as someone who's identifying mostly as, I guess heterosexual would be the category, although I really do believe in the fluidity and have fallen head over heels for all women as well. But yeah, I think I was able to bring that to this character who is questioning, and just sort of be present with it. But I really for me, I would listen to Bridget sing and my heart would go pitter pat and I would straight up crush on her. So it was really that was really helpful for me. And I just falling in love with her as a person, and Isabel, interestingly enough, just having that love for Isabel and bringing that into the scenes was really helpful for me.
So I gather, Isabel, quite an indie film. How would you have gone about funding it?
Fortunately, we had a private investor. But it was an $80,000 budget, start to finish. So we really stretched every dollar. Everybody pretty much worked for a stipend, which felt more like volunteer work at the end of the day. And like Bridget mentioned, we filmed it over the course of a year, in part because the budget was so low, because there was no way that on that, the daily stipend wouldn't have covered people's rents by the end of a month had we shot. And also the story takes place over the course of a year. So it was beautiful to be able to capture all the seasons organically, so yeah.
Anyway, what's next?
No, I'm writing the 10th draft of my next screenplay, and writing is very challenging, but I actually learned a lot about writing through Devin and through making this film. Devin is a very astute storyteller, and we came to realize, like, once we started filming, the script wasn't completely ready. Walk with me. So there was a lot of collaboration on set, mostly with Devin, but also with Bridget and the different cast members, where there are things that felt a little like they needed a little work. And so we would sit and make changes as we went.
Devin, you're going to do more cinema, or is this it? Are you going to make more?
Oh, goodness. Well, I would love to, but I have no idea. I really have no idea what's happening. It's a strange time for this to have done the first film, and then the pandemic hit and everything kind of shut down, and so I don't know. All I know is right now I'm traveling in a van with my boyfriend, and
very nice. So you guys have had a good pandemic, right? Relatively less stressful, I hope. Now it's all going to get stressed out. Now when everything opens up, it's all going to be a whole new great world. But it was great fun talking to you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for that beautiful film. Really, I look forward to more from you. And really, my compliments to the DOP and definitely to the actor who played Ethan. I think that's a very graceful way to go. Sridhar.
Okay, thanks a lot for this wonderful conversation. It was really illuminating. And also, like, for us, like as most of you have said, it's a very human story, not necessarily just a queer film. That's the reason it's been accorded the centerpiece status, because we love the film, and we have given it a special status, centerpiece film. And we hope that it goes far and wide. I hope your distribution deal brings it on Netflix or Amazon to India, so more people who could not attend the festival can also watch it for sure. Thank you all for joining in. Isabel, Devin, Bridget, and Priya, thank you so much for hosting this wonderful Q&A. There's still 2 more weeks of the film festival. So if you have not registered for the film festival yet, please go to mumbaiqueerfest.com and buy 2 weekend passes, which covers the next 2 weekends. So I'll see you there at the festival very soon. And if you have any questions for Isabel, Bridget, or Devin, please put it here right now on the YouTube also, or Facebook where the video is showing, and I'll make sure that they'll answer the questions, whatever you have. So thanks a lot for joining in, all of you. Bye-bye. That conversation, like a really, really, really wonderful conversation.
I'm Isabel Del Rosal, and I'm the writer, director, editor of Walk With Me, playing at the 2021 KASHISH Mumbai International Queer Film Festival. Please watch.
Hi, I'm Devin Duncannon. I play Amber in Walk With Me, and would love if you watched it at KASHISH 2021.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget, and I play Logan in Walk With Me. Please catch it at KASHISH 2021.